Hi everyone, Tu Lee here, one half of the China EVs and More duo. Outside of hosting our weekly live Twitter Spaces room and China EVs and More podcast, Lei and I are always kicking around ideas for new ways to inform you, our audience, on all that's happening around the world in the EV, AV, and mobility sectors. When I approached Lei about launching this podcast a couple of years ago, I had anticipated that what happens in China in these sectors would have huge implications globally. And that's precisely the case, especially in Europe and the United States, the two other largest auto markets. Despite all of the drama of 2022, China was still able to lead the world in NEV sales at around 6.5 million units. And it wasn't even close. That's almost 100% year-over-year growth, by the way. What's more, of the 1.8 million EVs sold in Europe between Q1 and Q3 of 2022, 11% came from Chinese automakers, a significant increase from just 2% in 2020. And that number is only going to grow. That's why it's so important to learn and know more about these companies, executives, brands, products, features, and services that are already hitting your shores. Whether you're a consumer, analyst, consultant, banker, but especially if you're a legacy OEM or Tier 1. I'm pretty confident that there isn't anyone else out there that can provide you with the type of detailed, up-to-date, and accurate coverage, insights, and opinions that Lei and I do. Our audience has grown significantly as the podcasts have piled up. So thank you for listening, being curious, and keeping us honest. I'm very pleased to introduce our latest Max episode, where we bring you conversations we've had with special guests from the EV, AV, chip, battery, and mobility space. With Cruise's cute little robotaxis recently making headlines for all the wrong reasons in San Francisco, and Tesla's FSD, or full self-driving, attracting scrutiny now in China and the US, you may think that autonomous vehicles just aren't ready for the spotlight. But what about slow-moving autonomous delivery, sweeping, or cleaning vehicles? Although not as glamorous or as lucrative as the robotaxi market, they're still all technically autonomous vehicles, and I'd argue that their time is now, not still 10 years out. For example, the autonomous last-mile delivery vehicle market is forecasted to have a 24% CAGR, growing to an over $90 billion market by 2030. This from market research firm Allied Market Research. One company that has applied their capital and capabilities towards developing products in these segments that you may not have heard of, UISEE. In this Max episode, Lei talks to founder and CEO of UISEE, Gansha Wu, whose autonomous driving startup is developing products across several different verticals within the autonomous vehicle space, where they will compete with the companies in the AV space you may have heard of, like Baidu, WeRide, Pony AI, and Waymo, to name just a few. UIC has its sights on being a major player across several verticals within the autonomous vehicle space, and Gansha is very open about his company, the opportunity he sees, the pivots he's had to make since founding the company in 2016, and much, much more.
First of all, Gansha, thank you for being on the pod. I think you're one of the unsung heroes of the autonomous vehicle space in China and globally, because your company has already walked the walk, right? You've already put AVs into commercial operation in several locations in China for many years already. And you have a unique business model and a unique story to tell. And that's why we're having you, and the world needs to know about it. So let's start off by you telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and your company. What was that spark that convinced you to take that kind of leap of faith and decide to sort of jump into the unknown and start UIC, I guess, 7.5 years ago? And prior to that, you have been the director of Intel Labs China. Life must have been really good. Why make the plunge?
Okay. Hi, guys. This is Gansha Wu. Now I'm the chairman and the CEO of UIC, the autonomous driving company in China. As you mentioned, I worked for Intel for 16 years before I founded this company. Yeah, the life at Intel is pretty good.
Yes,
actually.
I'd imagine.
Pretty good. So it's actually a tough decision to make the plunge, right?
Right.
Particularly for me as a super rational person.
Okay.
So I believe for a person like me to make this kind of decision, it depends on three things. First, it's a golden opportunity, once in lifetime opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe, we have gone through three big waves in terms of technology revolution.
Okay.
The first big wave is PC. I was born in 1976 when Microsoft and Apple were founded. Right. So this is the first big wave, but I was a baby, right?
Yes.
The second
I was as well.
Yeah, the second big wave started from 1996. 20 years later, it was about internet, right? Like Yahoo, Sohu, Sina, all were founded around that time. And this wave continued for at least 20 years, from PC internet to mobile internet. Right. So I believe starting from 2016, a new big wave will start. That's about artificial intelligence, about AI. And as I mentioned, for the first big wave, I was just born, right? For the second big wave, I was still in the university.
In school, yeah.
Right. So this big wave, I think I should not miss that. If I miss that, it would be doing myself a disservice, right? So this is something that I have to, capture.
Okay.
Once in lifetime opportunity. So this is first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is it touches on something that is very important to me. It touches on some fundamental personal interests. I believe autonomous driving can solve a lot of social problems, including traffic jam, traffic accidents, pollution, this kind of thing. Actually, my father passed away because of a traffic accident.
Oh, okay.
And around 2016, I was, traveling a lot, and particularly, the commute took a lot of time, pretty much 3 hours every day. And it's 1/8 of my lifetime. So this, I believe, can be solved by autonomous driving. So this is about personal interest. And the third thing is, sometimes a miracle happens that can change a lot of things, right? I somehow involved in the grand challenge when I worked at Intel. At that time, I really thought that autonomous driving was very, very far away.
Still is. Well,
at that time, it's something really in the lab, right?
Yeah.
But around the time of 2016, one of our co-founders, he actually participated in the grand challenge in China.
Oh, okay.
And he got the championship.
Okay.
And at that time, he was testing his AV around the third ring of Beijing.
Okay.
And I took several test rides, and I believe it's somehow pretty,
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of miracle to me. Somehow, changed my worldview. It can be something real, right? Like, originally I was an atheist, but this miracle turned me into a Christian, right?
Okay.
Right. So
made you a believer.
Major believer. Yeah. So these three things pushed me to make this decision.
Okay, so the disruptive change, the personal side of it, and kind of seeing the miracle, the three things. Right. I want you to go back to summer of 2015, actually exactly 8 years ago.
Right.
When we had the dinner.
Right.
In
right.
Chongqing.
We met together.
Yes,
in Chongqing.
I want you to go back to that point and the conversation we had. Have you already made that decision to make the plunge at that time, or was it afterwards that you made additional observations and
at that
came to a
time,
conclusion?
I somehow decided to leave Intel.
Okay, because you saw this.
But
kind of,
AV is just one of the options.
Yeah, because 2015 AlphaGo hasn't happened yet.
No.
Intel hasn't had any. I mean, even at CES 2016, there was nothing on Intel. And then 2017, they bought Mobileye.
Exactly.
Right? So I think those were the major big news in the industry. And then for you, continuing to look back, starting the company in February 2016, revealing the urban mobile box at CES 2017, which I was at, and I think it won a Red Dot Award. Is that correct?
In 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
And then finally actually putting autonomous vehicles into service, airports, factory facilities, complexes. And now recently you are actually moving into the level 2 plus
the passenger vehicle
vehicles.
Yeah.
So looking back at this journey, did everything pan out as you had envisioned them? Or there are a lot of surprises that made you kind of pivot, or what were some of the lessons learned? Talk about that journey.
Yeah. Actually, in 2015, I decided to have a startup on AI.
Okay.
But I thought about robotics because before I left Intel, I actually spent a lot of time working with one of my research teams to develop the robots. AV is just one of the options.
Right.
But somehow I feel, robotics have a lot of things
applications
to deal with.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, a lot of difficulties to deal with.
Okay.
Cost, the capability to deal with unstructured environments, essential. And then I looked into AV, and in 2015, two things happened. One is Uber almost acquired the CMU team.
The team, right?
At so-called the National Robotics Research Center, something like that.
Right. Okay.
And Uber believed that Google is going to disrupt their business.
Right. Okay.
So they made the big move. The other thing is autopilot.
Right. Tesla, right?
Yeah, Tesla actually delivered the autopilot to the market. Even though it's so-called assisted driving, right? But it's the first commercialized intelligent driving technology.
Yes.
Right. So these two things actually, made me to move into this
make the plunge.
Segment. Made the plunge. So that's how I selected AV as, the focal point.
Okay.
Certainly, this is a long journey.
Yeah.
And I have to say, we made a lot of mistakes and somehow underestimated the difficulty. In 2016, we made two decisions. One is we are going to push forward on two tracks.
Two paths.
Two paths. One is passenger vehicles.
Okay.
We still believe if you really want to arrive at the final destination, you still need to work on passenger vehicles. They have the skill, have the data, right? The other path is commercial vehicles. We believe commercial vehicles, are where we can really commercialize level 4 first. And the other thing is the business model is actually, better. On passenger vehicles, we are selling the components.
Right.
Cost is a big issue.
Okay.
For commercial vehicles, it really depends on how many drivers you replace.
Right.
And what is the cost of these drivers, right?
Right.
So passenger vehicles, it's about scale and data. Commercial vehicles, it's about level 4 and also the business model or profit. This is one big decision we made. I have to say this is one decision that we insisted on for all 7 years.
Okay. Okay.
So this is first.
Okay.
Second is we decided to build our cars.
Okay.
So that's why you
So you kind of become a OEM almost.
Well,
Almost.
we didn't think too much, but as a startup, it's really about the speed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We dare to make big moves.
Yes.
Right? At that time, to be honest with you, it's very hard to get the so-called driving-by-wire capability, right? So for major OEMs, I remember Ford is one of the OEMs who really want to deliver vehicles with driving-by-wire capability, right? But for commercial vehicles, none.
Right.
So we decided to build our own shuttle, level 4 shuttle. We called MC Square, right? Mobile City Cabin. Right. So we actually didn't think too much. We decided to build our own car. And that's why you see that. You saw that on the CES, right?
2017.
So this is the first year. The second year, actually, 2 incidents happened.
Incidents, okay.
Right? So we didn't plan it. One is we made the demo for Guangzhou Baiyun Airport.
Yeah.
It's about the commute between T1 terminal and the P4, the parking lot.
This is for passengers, right?
For passengers.
Passengers, right? Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
We didn't plan it.
I remember that. Yeah.
But this led us to the airport market.
Okay.
Later that year, we received an invitation from Hong Kong International Airport. They were seeking good supplier who can really help them to solve the problem of level 4 automated electric tractors.
For luggage, right?
For luggage and cargo.
Logistics, right? Yeah.
For logistics,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't touch on logistics before that.
Right.
The other incident is we worked with CapitaLand, Rifles in Hangzhou.
Rifles.
We provided this.
I remember that as well.
Yeah, this golf car.
Golf cart
right?
for parking.
So you actually use the cell phone to input your plaque number, and the golf car can take you to your parking
space. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that led to our pursuit of AVP, automated valet parking. So that's in 2017.
Okay. Well, not so much as incidents, but maybe something.
Happy things. Right?
That kind of led you to.
In
things.
2018, we actually, in that year was a big year for us on passenger vehicles. We worked with a lot of partners like Volkswagen, like Shanghai GM 50, and also like 合众汽车 now
Neta.
Yeah, we worked with them to trying to commercialize the AVP capability. Actually, we also worked with the car rental supplier, GoFun.
Okay, yeah,
right?
okay.
right?
Mr. Tiny, I know him.
We did a lot of actually demo and trials, trying to commercialize that technology.
Okay.
And on the other hand, we decided to quit the car making business.
Car making.
Yeah, because at that time,
good decision.
Some suppliers would like to provide, vehicles with driving-by-wire capability, like Yutong, like other suppliers, OEMs. So that's 2018, and in 2019, we already made a few important decisions. One is passenger vehicles or commercial vehicles, and how we chip in.
Yeah.
Right. Second is whether we make our own cars or work with OEMs.
OEMs. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. The third big decision came in 2019. 2019, actually, we had quite a few highlights on shuttles. We worked with Yutong to really deliver the autonomous shuttles onto the open roads in the city of Zhengzhou.
Right.
And we work with FAW and the Yutong to deliver this service in Boao Asia Forum.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of highlights. But over the time, we somehow encountered a lot of difficulties.
Okay.
One is whether you can remove the safety driver.
Yes, right.
Human carrying vehicles and the logistic vehicles, they are different.
Sure.
When we deal with the algorithms, we have to face the false positives and the false negatives.
Yes,
right?
Yes, always.
The basis, the fundamental thing is you should not have false negatives. Otherwise, you will, crash into something.
Right.
But for logistic vehicles, false positives are somehow tolerable.
Right.
You can have more brakes.
Right.
The cargo or the goods would not complain.
Right.
But
exactly.
the shuttles, you should not have the false positives. So we face these difficulties. One. Second is the cost. The autonomous shuttles are too expensive. So this is one track. And this learning somehow, made us to move into spend more efforts into the logistics. And in the logistics sector, we faced another big challenge. And the leader at HKIA, Hong Kong International Airport, they asked us whether you can remove the safety driver. If not, we're going to end this project.
It's an ultimatum, almost.
Right. So we spent a lot of efforts, redesigned the whole safety architecture. And we designed a lot of test programs. We worked with them.
Okay.
Worked with the regulators. Okay. Actually, it's CAD, Civil Aviation Department, to design the test programs. And we have to, at the same time, we had to deal with all the hardware stability issues. In Hong Kong,
the weather,
the temperature,
right. Humid,
very high.
Right.
It's like 70 degrees Celsius.
Wow. On the surface?
On the ground.
Ground surface, yeah.
And deal with this typhoon, heavy rain.
Wind, yeah.
Yeah, and the fog, solid fog, all these kind of things. Deal with the stability issue. And around the end of 2019, we got the permission to operate true driverless tractors. So on that year, we decided to move away from the shuttles and focus on the logistics vehicles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The fourth big decision we made is on one hand, we still need to improve the logistic vehicles, but we thought that we should spend more on the passenger vehicle again, and on some other scenarios like delivery cars, surveillance cars, this kind of things. So the fourth big decision is whether we build special purposed technology stack or a general purpose technology stack. The general purpose technology stack can be easily adapted to different scenarios.
Right, okay.
So this is something that we work on in the recent years. Once we had a lot of improvements on that, we can try different new scenarios. We brought back the shuttles. We tried the delivery cars, surveillance or patrol cars, right? Even the driverless sweepers,
robo sweepers, yeah.
Yeah, this kind of things. Because we have one universal autonomous driving operating system.
Okay.
So, of course, we can move back to the passenger vehicle again. And in the last few years, you see the penetration rate of level 2 and level 2 plus improve significantly.
Taking off.
Right?
Yeah.
And OEMs tend to accept the so-called more powerful chips.
Right.
Because at 2016, none of those OEMs were talking about, like 100 TOPS chip, right?
Yeah.
But, over the time, they started to accept that. And some of these players started to, so-called reduce dimension of level 4 and commercial that into level 2.
L2 plus.
But in more complex scenarios. Originally, when we talked about NOA, it was on the highways, right? But now people are talking about the level 2 plus, level 2 plus in the garage or in the city, urban area.
Yeah.
So all this happened, because we have the universal operating system, so we can have more trial. So you see this path, right?
Yeah.
Passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles. We build a car or work with OEMs, human carrying or logistics.
Cargo, yeah.
Special purposed or general purpose or universal stack. So all of our activities were, around all these questions.
Okay.
And made the pivots or adjust our strategies over the time.
Okay. I guess. So basically your answer is, I think for any startup, it's difficult to plan long in advance because if you don't do it, you don't know when you actually try to accomplish certain goals or work with some people, you don't know what comes up. Until that comes up, you don't know what type of pivots you're going to make.
Right.
Can you give the listeners an idea of the scale of your operations? Let's say how many vehicles are running, what mileage have you done, how much cargo? Do you have that?
Right now, we have a dashboard.
Okay.
I can show you later.
Okay. Love to see that.
Right now we have 600. Probably I should not provide the exact number,
right.
But it's
hundreds.
A little
Let's
bit less than
700.
Okay. Level 4 vehicles being operated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are those more on the logistics cargo or I would imagine, right?
The majority is on the logistics side.
And then what you described, the kind of one size fits all kind of Is that the UDrive platform or is
Yeah.
something else? That's
Yeah,
the UDrive
yeah. We
platform?
have the
Okay.
so-called UDrive platform.
Okay.
And in the last few years, we try to make it more general purpose or universal. I can give you a metaphor. Have you been to 风貌烤串?
No.
This is kind of grilling skewers,
Skewers, okay.
自动烤架.
Okay. Automatic kind of barbecuing.
Yeah. Automated barbecue.
Barbecuing,
right.
okay.
And you have the skewers, right?
Yeah.
Right. I've been to this restaurant many times.
Okay.
And I was pretty interested in this automated skewer stand.
Yeah,
platform.
setup, right? The setup.
Yeah. The platform.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the stand.
Yeah.
And you can put the skewers onto it. And it started to roll, and once one skewer is cooked, you can eat it, right? So this is
a perfect condition. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have one strategy. You cook one skewer. You grill one skewer.
Yeah.
At one time.
Yeah.
And then eat it once it's cooked.
Yeah.
Right. But if this grill skewer takes much time to cook, then you could be hungry.
Right.
The other strategy is you put as many skewers onto this stand.
Right.
Because it's automated.
Yes.
All of them are rolling, and you can eat once one was cooked, right? So this is another strategy.
Okay.
So to us, the key is all these skewers share the stand, right? So it's pretty much like our autonomous driving platform. UDrive is this grill. Skewer stand.
Okay.
And each skewer is one scenario. They actually share the same technology. We drive, right? And driving is a kind of general purpose technology. If you get trained in Beijing, you don't need to be retrained in US again, right? Right? And if you drive this model, you should not be retrained when you try to drive another model, right? Okay. So it's general purpose. So we build this stand. It's also pretty much like GPT, right?
Okay.
Before GPT, we call the AI ANI, artificial narrow intelligence.
And then there's the AGI.
It's trying to solve special problems, right? It's pretty much like, kids, right? The ANI is like you are assigned into different subjects when you are still in the primary school. But AGI, artificial general intelligence, is like you should learn general knowledge first. And once you enroll into universities, you start to focus on different subjects. The same idea, right? Okay. So the UDrive is like this general purpose stand.
Stand for skewering.
And we try to, put different skewer onto this stand and try different market.
Okay, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, so in China, we believe in this saying so-called 持经达变. So you hold on to the classics or the Bible. The Bible is something that it remained unchanged for thousands of years. So this is something that you first deal with. Once you understand this, then you can better cope with new changes.
It's kind of like the foundation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so UDrive is something like that.
That's a great analogy. And then going back to the L2 plus, I think you believe companies that are doing L4, these AV startups, right? Let's say the WeRides, the AutoAxis, the Ponies, versus these, let's say, an Xbone. They're pretty good at the XNGP, right? All scenario.
The so-called city NOA.
Right, city NOA. And you believe that both will kind of, so from L4 to L2 and from L2 going up to L4, you believe that both kind of these paths, they will probably merge into something the same? Is that what I'm
yeah. First of all, we are doing both.
Right.
We have level 4
right.
and we have level 2. Level 2 trying to approach, more complex scenarios and somehow evolve into level 4 someday.
Yeah.
Right. So level 4, we also have a lot of business. Right. So we believe they are different paths. Path is about strategy. Right. You first do something, then do something. But the ultimate goal is the same. In US, actually, people don't like, these small scenarios, right?
Right.
Like airports or the factories, they are small, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they want to work on something like moonshot. So that's why most of those startups work on robotaxi or robotruck, because these are big scenarios, right? But now people realize that this kind of level 4 is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot solve the last mile issue or the corner cases, the long tail corner cases. That's why, but they want to commercialize something. So that's why you see, these companies started to work on the level 2
mm-hmm.
products with level 4 technology.
Right.
But for Xpeng or Huawei, they started with this massive market, and level 4 is almost impossible.
Yeah.
They first need to make highway NOA a good project. Honest with you, I don't think today's highway NOA is mature enough. There's still way to go. But they should not be satisfied with this highway scenario. So that's why they moved to garage and urban scenarios. So that's all about choices. First, work on something and then on another things.
Yeah.
But I believe both will approach the ultimate destination.
So let me ask you a technical question. Is it easier to go from L4 to L2 or from L2 to L4? Which is easier in your mind?
Well,
I don't know whether that's the right question to ask.
It's hard to define, level X, right? For example, level 4, level 2, level 3, level 4 is all about responsibility.
Yes.
Who takes the responsibility? Yes. But it's not about the difficulty, complexity. So level 4 could be easy for some scenarios.
Right.
But level 2 could be more difficult in some scenarios. So, we try to solve different problems. If it's level 4, technology difficulty is one thing. The consequence of excellence is something you should consider. I think that's why robotruck, this area is somehow cold these days.
Well, Waymo just decided to...
Waymo is the most recent thing. And you heard about other companies, Embark, Locomotion, and some companies in China. Right.
Too simple, right? These type
the scenario is somehow easy because it's on highway.
Yes.
All one direction.
Right.
No pedestrians.
Right.
Cyclists. Bicycles. But the consequence of one error could be huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you should consider different things. For level 4, you also need to consider the business model, right? If you just replace one driver, particularly in China, you cannot scale your business.
Which gets into my next question.
Yeah,
Speaking
if
of
it's
scale,
2 drivers, 3 drivers, if it's in Hong Kong, the business is much better, much more scalable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you should consider all these things.
Yeah.
But for level 2, it's all about first the scenarios: highway, garage, and urban area. Highway, you should continuously improve the technology.
Yes.
Even for leaders in this segment, Tesla, you still see accidents, right? I run into a statistics in California. In 1 year's time frame, Tesla, NHTSA reported about 250 accidents.
Yeah, I saw that table.
With Tesla, right? Yeah. Actually, it's not about Tesla's. I'm not saying that Tesla is not good at technology, because they have the biggest fleet, right? And people tend to love to use autopilot, right? That's why. But on the other hand, it's not quite mature yet, right? For the garage, the problem is whether you can achieve level 4 automated valet parking, because this is mostly valuable, right? And for urban area, it's all about whether you can scale your business. If you rely on high definition map, then the scaling would be very difficult, right? Yeah. It's also about the user experience. Today, if you look at all the city NOA products, the average stats would be like 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers MPI. You drive 10 kilometers, you have one intervention.
Right, disengagement or takeover.
Yeah. But that's not good enough, right?
I'd rather drive myself.
I spend like, tens of thousands of dollars on that. But my life is miserable, right?
Yes.
I somehow become a safety driver to help OEMs or the suppliers to improve the technology, right?
Yes.
So they have different problems to solve: scalability, user experience, and also cost, right? So they try to solve different problems at this time, and then another kind of problems. But all of them actually are working on one kind of technology stack.
Yeah, so speaking of scalability, for UISEE, what's the biggest obstacle for scaling up? Is it money? Is it talent? Is it technology? Is it policy? Is it politics? Is it demand? What is it?
I can enumerate a few things. One is technology. For the first thing is always technology. You can never commercialize unmature technology.
Sure.
Right?
And also in the back of my mind, I always think UISEE is this David, whereas the other players are the Goliaths, right? That's in the back of my mind, because you are a startup and you're going up against, the bigger names.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Okay, that's good.
I think you try to talk about the money issue, right? Yeah, all of our startups face this problem.
Sure.
Yeah, I always ask my colleagues. We started later than Waymo, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have the same amount of money as Waymo did.
Yes, right.
We didn't have so many smart people as Waymo
I'm sure
did.
You do.
How we survive? This is the question that we cannot avoid. Right? But we actually are not worried about that, because we believe autonomous driving is one marathon plus one gladiator battle, right? You first need to complete the marathon. It could be 2 decades. Once you reach the destination, the end point of the marathon, then you start you actually are engaged into the gladiator battle, right? So you first need to solve this 2 decades problem, right? But big companies are not patient enough. They face the pressure from the stockholders,
Right, you must stockholders,
the boards, right? They could not tolerate one team burning money for 2 decades, right? So we are not worried about that.
That's good.
The first thing that we are worried about is the technology.
Still the technology part?
Still the technology.
Okay.
Because 99% is zero. Many of our competitors, including us, already reached 99%.
Yeah, and then there's the 0.9999.
But the remaining 1%
Yeah.
could take 99% of our time and effort.
Yes.
This is the hard part.
Yeah, okay.
Right? The 1% could be all the corner cases. By the way, when we talk about the airports, the average complexity actually is low.
Lower, yeah.
But the 1% could be the same as the urban area, right? 1% corner cases, 1% extreme weather. We always face the challenge of our customers. For example, during heavy rain or snow or fog, when our AVs didn't perform well, they challenged us, right? They already dismissed the driver team. They relied on your AV fleet to do all the operation. Another 1% is about the infrastructure issue. We experience different infrastructure, breakdown, like the network. Human drivers, they don't rely on network to perform, right?
The cellular and all
cellular network, and also the cloud infrastructure.
Cloud infrastructure.
When they have the problem, we are blamed.
Yes.
Right. So technology is always.
And it's many aspects. It's not only the AV part of it, right?
Yeah. Second is standards.
Standards.
How to qualify this AV technology as a product. You should have different criteria to qualify this technology. But sometimes it's very hard, right? When you have the standards, you can put more AVs into the market. And once some accidents happen, you kind of have some excuse, right? So we already passed the standard, right? For AVs in the airports, it's easier to design the standards. But for AVs on the open road, it's very hard. I give you an example. I read the DMV report at California.
Right.
Google Waymo's performance is like 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
20,000 miles per intervention.
Right.
But for human drivers in US, it's like 250,000 miles for one insurance report.
Yeah.
500,000 miles for one police record.
Yeah.
1.5 million miles for one injury. 90,000 miles. 90 million miles for one fatality.
Fatality, right. Okay.
So, but to prove that is a very hard thing. Actually, I wonder if you ever read the RAND Corporation report, and they built a mathematics model and claim that you need 11 billion miles
How many zeros?
to prove you are 20% better than human drivers.
And that's what Cruise is trying to show with that big ad in the newspaper, right? They're saying, the humans are such bad drivers.
Yeah, but when we talk about good or bad, we need data.
Data
right?
to what is bad, what is good.
Data.
Yeah.
We need data. And if I have 500 vehicles, it takes me 100 years to reach 11 billion miles. So that's the hard part. The second part is standard. The third is policy.
Yeah.
So once you have the technology proven and you have the standard, then you have flexible policy, right?
Yeah.
And the fourth part is cost. You still want your technology to be cheaper, and then you have more adoption, right? The last thing is how the society views your technology, whether they accept your technology, right? And the objection could be from the labor union or from the victims of the accidents or from other part of the society. But you need to face, with this kind of challenges.
Yeah.
So overall, the number one is technology.
Still technology.
We still need to tackle, with all the technology difficulties.
Okay. Yeah. So which goes into the next question. You mentioned all these factors, and comparing these factors, let's say in the AV space in China versus the US, who has the lead?
That's a good question.
I mean, right? Policy, standard, consumer acceptance, all of these factors that you mentioned. You look at the two ecosystems. Where do you think China is ahead or behind? Where is US ahead or behind?
Talking about ecosystem, there could be multiple different ecosystems. One is the technology ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
The second could be the capital, VC, capital ecosystem. The third could be the customer ecosystem. The fourth could be the regulator, right?
Regulatory
ecosystem.
Yeah.
I would say today, if you really want to test the AVs on the open roads in the cities, US has more flexible
I agree.
regulation.
I agree, because recently Cruise has been expanding into newer cities.
Cruise, Waymo.
So
in China, the government is big government.
Yeah.
They take a lot of responsibilities. In US, if only you put $5 million in the government, then you
taxpayer money
go through all the process to apply the license, and you have enough data to prove, then you can do literally everything, right?
But I would say China probably has the advantage where there's more in multiple cities. There's more demonstration zones where different companies can run their test their robotaxis, right? So
I mean, the U.S. government regulation is more flexible. China has its own regulation. It's not saying that we are not allowing you to test the vehicles, but you have to go through more, strict process to prove you are safe.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a regulatory ecosystem. For the technology side, it's almost the same as any other areas in AI or high tech. US has this fundamental innovation from the fundamental technology stack to individual algorithms like transformer, right? BEV, this kind of thing, right? Occupancy network. US invented all these things, right? But in China, we learn very fast. We have more data. We have more data.
Yeah.
So this really, US is leading in fundamental innovation.
Yes.
And China is leading in commercialization of the technologies. Today, if you compare the city annoy technology between Tesla's FSD
yeah.
and the XNGP, right?
XNGP, XNGP,
and probably they are very competitive. But Tesla had all these original invention or innovation.
Yeah.
So this is technology. But for commercialization, you see very fast commercialization, not just on the passenger vehicle side, also on different kind of commercial vehicle side. Particularly on the commercial vehicle side, we are leading the competition, right? So this is technology. Capital. Oh, by the way, in US, these scientists tend to work on more forward-looking things.
Yes.
And in China, people are more pragmatic. And in US, you always see this, hear these things like, don't try to build a ladder to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or you can work very hard on jumping, but you cannot fly.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So they like this level 4 stuff, robotaxi or robotruck. So you see very few companies working on commercial vehicles except trucks.
Yeah.
You don't see people working on airports.
Yeah, right. Right.
In the ports.
Right.
In the mines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For delivery vehicle, you have neural.
Right.
But just
For sure, there's
but
many
in China,
Meituan,
you have 10 companies, startups working on delivering, right? So you see this very diversified ecosystem here. And people are very pragmatic. They try to commercialize the technology in different scenarios. So that's the difference. On the capital ecosystem side, I think the venture capital in US is more patient.
Okay.
But
that's a good point.
It's a good point, but the startups, they don't have the pressure to commercialize the technology.
Yeah.
Right? In China, the venture capitalists are more pragmatic as well. You have to prove that you can commercialize your technology, right? And also on the customer ecosystem side, I believe China has more customers who are willing to test the AV technology, particularly in the commercial vehicle side. I mentioned airports, right? Ports, mines, sweepers, delivery cars, patrol cars, public transportation. And you see a lot of trials and the commercial projects here in China. So differences in the regulatory ecosystem, technology, capital, and the customers.
Yeah, it'll be difficult to kind of pinpoint, US is leading or China is leading. There's some places where one may be leading, but others where maybe it's behind.
Yeah.
And then a couple more questions. Maybe this middle ground of L3, I feel like it's only the competition between Mercedes and BMW because recently they made some announcements. And I don't see anybody else talk about L3.
Well,
where do you see that path
I think
going?
First, it's about the
responsibility,
ambition, and the courage.
Okay.
I think it takes a lot of courage to claim that your products are level 3.
Okay. Yep.
I would salute to these companies, right? This is one. Second, actually, to achieve level 3, you need a lot of safety design redundancies in the system.
Yeah, yeah.
That means much higher cost.
Cost, yeah. Yeah.
Mercedes, they have this, capability to add more components into the system.
Yeah.
Because their cars have higher price.
Sure.
So actually they build a lot of redundancy into the design. They have the so-called highest level of safety design. It's error tolerant, and once some error happen, they still can operate. Probably degrade the performance a little bit, right? That's all about money.
Yeah.
Third, I think today level 3 is still about some simple scenario, like a traffic jam pilot. And I believe level 3 first is about traffic jam pilot, and then the annoying.
Yeah.
Level 4 is first about automated valet parking. So we still can push the limit a little bit more on these specific scenarios. Yeah.
And then the other paths, Mobileye and even GM, right? GM is coming out with the Ultra Cruise. And Mobileye is developing with Geely, that was announced last year, something called a consumer AV.
Consumer
AV.
The Mobileye with Geely.
Geely, yeah. That's another path. Basically meaning a private passenger vehicle you can buy, let's say with almost like L4 capabilities.
Well,
is that?
I'm not sure it's somehow, achievable.
Yeah,
in the short
I
term.
question that as well.
Yeah. I believe level 4 would still be, operational vehicles like a robotaxi. Because if you are DD, you can deploy the robotaxi service in, for example, this part of the city, right? Sure. And then they have order system that can mix human drivers and autonomous vehicles. If this order is about very complex scenarios, I can dispatch it to a human driver. If this is somehow a road that AV can deal with, then it can dispatch the order to the AVs. So this is more achievable. But for consumer, that's much harder.
What is, let's say this, you're almost 7.5 years, going on 8 years. What are your next milestones that you have in mind? What is the end game for UISEE, and what would you like to see kind of the utopia of the autonomous driving? What do you want to see happen that you put a smile on your face?
Well, two questions. One is our ultimate goal, right? We have a vision to deliver AI drivers to the world, all industries, all countries. So that actually defines a few things. First, we don't make the car. We don't do operation. We deliver AI drivers. We're pretty much like a manpower. If only this car is certified with autonomous driving readiness, then our AI drivers can be plugged into this car. And then it can be operated in certain scenario. And we can charge the customers with the subscription fee.
Usage-based.
Usage-based, pay-as-you-go, right? So if that's the case, we can deliver millions of AI drivers on different models of the commercial and the passenger vehicles and charge the users with subscription fee. It's pretty much like the salary of the AI drivers. That's why what we see the ultimate business model. Imagine we have a goal before 2030, we will deliver at least 1 million AI drivers. And if the salary of each AI driver is 100,000 RMB. Then in total, you'll have 100 billion RMB as your revenue. And you can have very high gross margin, like 80% gross margin.
It's crazy.
Right. It's not like selling cars, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that we try to achieve. Your AI drivers need to be cheap and universal. That's what we do, right? So this is the business model, ideal business model we are working on, right? And second question, the utopian. I think we have 2 zeros: 0 traffic jam and 0 accident fatality. So 2 0, and we have 3 1/3. Okay. The cost of logistics and mobility can be reduced by at least 1/3.
1/3, okay.
And 1/3 of the city infrastructure that were originally built for cars can be changed into other things. For example, roads. Today we need a lot of roads, a lot of parking spaces, right? Parking lots for the vehicles. But later they can become the green space, become where people can live, where people can play, right? So this is the second 1/3. The third 1/3 is 1/3 of the commute time can be turned into productivity.
Okay.
So that's another side of the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I guess that should be it. I mean, we've talked for almost an hour and 15 minutes. So anything else? That's it from my side. Anything else you'd like to share about, what you're doing or?
Yeah, it's a long journey. I hope, first we want to see a better arena with less competition. You know why I say that? The ideal arena would be, for example, 10 companies. And the supply side could be 1,000 engineers and $10 billion capital. Then the 10 companies share that, right? But today, the reality is 100 companies to compete for the 1,000 engineers and $10 billion capital.
Yeah.
That's over competition, or what we call 内卷.
Involuted.
Yeah, involution. Yeah. So that actually somehow will hurt, this industry, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, certainly we see, over the time, some of those companies actually, leave the arena.
Yeah.
I used to say that this industry is all about accumulation and elimination.
Okay.
The final survivor, the ultimate capability is achieved from days of accumulation. On the other hand, some of those less qualified companies will be eliminated. So it's about accumulation and elimination, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is about patience. All of us need to be more patient. For example, for the VCs and entrepreneurs like us, need to be more patient. If we are too eager for quick success, then there will be many distorted actions.
Yeah, what we're saying is basically another word.
Superficial.
Yeah.
Superficial efforts and useless useless work, because we need to, for example, for us, we need to, cater for the capitalist. We need to tell a good story. We need to get more money. Then we do a lot of distorted actions, superficial efforts, useless work. So that's one side. The other side, we used to call it a 折腾 in Chinese. On the other side, the societies and the customers, would better be more patient.
Yes.
Meaning they provide more room for error tolerance, right? If this company make one mistake, then this company is destroyed. Then probably, the day will never come, because if we don't dare to make mistakes, take risks, then we cannot improve, cannot evolve, right? So patience is another thing. Yeah.
I'll say another word to describe what you just described as being realistic, but at the same time, know that you need certain speed, but balancing what you can prove at the same time,
right,
without distorting. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Right.
That was a lovely conversation, Gansha, and thank you for your time. I've always been a big fan of what you're doing, knowing you, as a good friend, but also as someone who's contributing to the, the autonomous vehicle industry and seeing your products out there. I just wish you the best of luck and hope we all achieve that kind of the utopia. I don't want to say sooner, but at the right moment in time.
One day.
Yeah,
one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
If only we survive.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, this is your co-host Lei Xing. Like any other AV startup or startup in general, UISEE has gone through its trials and tribulations, pivots, and what have you. It's a constant process of trying to find the sweet spot in what Gansha calls a marathon and a gladiator battle, and spending 99% of the time and effort to solve the remaining 1% of the problem, specifically in the autonomous driving space. UISEE is one of many Davids going up against the Goliaths of Baidu, Waymo, Cruise, but has found its own niche amid the cutthroat competition among China AV Inc., as you've just heard from Gansha, who also offered great insights into the AV competition in both China and the US. One anecdote I wanted to share of how knowledgeable Gansha is about the global AV space and how conscientious his work ethic is was that he personally spent many hours late into the night on a 100-page plus PowerPoint presentation that talked about the past, present, and future of autonomous driving, which he presented at a press event in Beijing at the end of 2016, just a few months after the company was formed. Having known him as a friend since 2015, I have the utmost respect for what he's been able to accomplish and wish nothing but the best for him and UISEE.
Lei and I will be sharing more of our conversations with the men and women around the world, moving the EV, AV, and mobility sectors forward as part of this China EVs and More Max series. Some folks will be instantly recognizable, but some will just be people that are doing amazing things in the space that we think deserve to be highlighted. Don't worry though, Lei and I will continue to host our live weekly China EVs and More Twitter Spaces room that summarizes that week's most important news coming out of the China EV, AV, and mobility space. For those that can't catch the live show, you can find the China EVs and More pod on all major platforms or wherever you normally get your podcasts. As EV adoption reaches its global tipping point, it'll be even more important to stay updated on everything that's happening here. Lei and I are confident that China EVs and More is the best resource to do that. Until next time, as always, thanks for listening.